as they were residents of Greenville for many years. Ron with the city manager's office, and Jan worked at Vidant Health. I'm sure they're a huge part of the reason that we have such an enormous crowd here today. We appreciate your sharing with us and your commitment to this cause. I also want to thank Mac McCarley, who is the former city attorney for Greenville. He is also residing in Charlotte now and will speak to us later in the program. I want to thank the elected officials who have joined us today. They're here in a public show of their support for this cause. I want to recognize our own agency's staff, current and former board members, and a large group of agency volunteers who support this work every single day. And finally, I want to thank the law enforcement officers and victims advocates who are the first responders to victims who are in crisis. These victims, first and foremost, want to feel safe and they want to be believed. These first responders provide that assistance and that assurance, and we thank them for the important role they play every day. We also want to thank our sponsors. If they hadn't stepped up, we wouldn't be here and couldn't be able to do this today. Our presenting sponsors are Tom and Alice Glennon of the Prime Hotel Group. Our gold sponsors are the Blackwelder Family Foundation, Grady White Boats, and the Keener Media Group. Our silver sponsor is the Dental Care Center. There's also a list of purple level sponsors in your program, and I hope you'll take a few minutes to look at that and to appreciate what they have done as well. The Center for Family Violence Prevention has been providing services to domestic violence victims for 33 years. We will continue our commitment to this cause and to the survivors, and will provide continued services and expand services in the years to come. What's new about our organization is our commitment to increase public awareness about what's actually happening in our community every day, and to educate the citizens of our community about the very special dynamic that is involved in intimate partner violence, because we believe that awareness and education are two of the strongest stepping stones toward achieving prevention, which is our ultimate goal. I thank you again for your attendance and your support. Right now I want to introduce Ms. Jenna Albritton, who's going to deliver a message from Tom and Alice Glennon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's my honor as the Campus Director of Sales for the Greenville Hilton, Hampton, and Holiday Inn to welcome you today to today's luncheon on behalf of Tom and Alice Glennon as presenting sponsor. We are privileged to be joined by our dear friends, Ron and Jan Kimble, whom are coveted members of the Greenville community. The collaboration and development between Mr. Glennon and Mr. Kimble many years ago allow us to gather at the Greenville Convention Center today, which otherwise would not exist without their efforts. Our Greenville Convention Center, Hilton, and Prime Investments and Development families are sincerely grateful for the opportunity to support the Center for Family Violence Prevention, and more specifically raise awareness for domestic violence. Your presence today and continued support allow us to serve those impacted in our community directly. Thank you for joining us today. It is our distinct pleasure to honor the Kimble family. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna, and thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Glennon. We are so appreciative of your tremendous support of this event. Mr. Glennon was very quick to step up and offer to be the presenting sponsor, and I just can't thank you enough for doing that. I really appreciate it. As good as it is to see all of you here, I wish we weren't here talking about this subject, but unfortunately we are. The term domestic violence is kind of an old school term. Today, newer phrases such as family violence, dating violence, and intimate partner violence are also used. Even though all of these contain the word violence, it is important to understand that not all victims suffer physical violence. Abuse can also be psychological and emotional. And while most victims are women, men are sometimes victims as well. It can happen to anyone. No one is immune. There are a number of people in this room right now who have experienced abuse or violence in a relationship, and some of you would be shocked to see who the victims are. Domestic violence is something that most people don't think about unless it's a situation that results in a homicide and makes the news. When such a tragic event occurs, people are shocked and saddened and even angry that something wasn't done to prevent it. The Center for Family Violence Prevention is working every day to prevent domestic violence. We recognize the impact that domestic violence has on the abused, the abuser, their children, and their community. And the center provides a variety of services and resources to all of those groups. In the past year, we provided over 13,000 separate services to the individuals who needed them. We assisted with 192 domestic violence protection orders. Think about that. In 1 year, we helped nearly 200 people who feared for their safety and wanted protection get protection orders. We sheltered 116 clients in our Safe House, which is a secure facility available to those who need it 365 days a year. And those who stay there are never charged a dime. Providing a safe haven for our neighbors is a vital impact for our community. But our services go way beyond providing safe housing. The center also assists those escaping a domestic violence situation with food, clothing, transportation, and counseling. We lay the foundation for creating a new normal in their lives, whereby the victim can secure their own housing, a job to support themselves, apply to school, and be a healthy, active member of society. Nothing can explain the impact of what the center does better than a recent incident experienced by our executive director. Laura King recently participated in a DV seminar at a local church. There was a young woman present who had remained quiet during the entire presentation, even though most participants had shared their own domestic violence experiences. When Laura started to discuss the center and its services, the young woman's hand went up, and she asked Laura if her office is on Arlington Boulevard. When Laura said that it was, tears started rolling down the lady's face, and she said, "You saved my life." She had been a resident in the Safe House and had received a variety of services from our victim advocates. She spoke so kindly of her advocate and how the advocate had helped her turn her life around, and how she had gone above and beyond on her own time to help her. The advocate even brought gifts for her children at Christmas when she hadn't been able to give them anything on her own. This is the work that the staff and the volunteers and the board at the Center for Family Violence Prevention are doing in our community, and they are making an impact. It's a powerful impact focused on the mission of breaking cycles and building lives by providing services every day to break the cycle of violence and build healthy relationships. Let me turn now to our special guests and featured speakers today, Ron and Jan Kimble. As Laura said, many of you remember the Kimbles from when they lived and worked in Greenville. Ron spent 16 years at the city of Greenville, with 10 of those as city manager, and Jan worked at what was then Pitt County Memorial Hospital. When Ron became city manager in 1990, he hired me as his executive assistant. At the time, Ron and Jan's daughter, Jamie, was in the 3rd grade. I saw her grow up from a sweet little girl to a beautiful, smart young woman with a very bright and promising future. She graduated from Rose High School in 1999 and went on to college and beyond, living life fully and successfully. In September of 2012, Jamie Kimble's life came to a tragic end when her ex-boyfriend shot and killed her. Ron and Jan Kimble lost their precious daughter, their only child. The devastation and grief felt by them, their family, and friends was enormous. How could it possibly happen? The tragic loss... Are we live? The tragic loss of their daughter created a new mission for Ron and Jan. As a way to cope with their grief and to honor Jamie so that her legacy would live on, they embarked on a mission to educate others about abuse and try to stop the senseless violence so that no other family would ever have to endure what they have. Ron and Jan now reside in Charlotte, but they are here today to share their story of how domestic violence changed their lives forever. Please welcome the Kimbles.
Thank you, Donna, and good afternoon, everyone. Ron and I are so blessed to be back in Greenville for this very special day. This was the place where Jamie was raised, and she was truly a Southern girl. We know that many of you here today knew Jamie as she was growing up, but we want everyone to know who Jamie was. So if you'll let me tell you a little bit about Jamie. To know Jamie was to love her. Growing up here in Greenville, Jamie loved riding her bike in the neighborhood with friends, tagging along with her dad at civic functions, and dancing at the Academy of Dance. She performed in several musicals, including several Nutcracker performances over the course of 15 years. She loved to dance. We've been told by her Chamber of Commerce, Charlotte Chamber of Commerce friends, that she was fondly known as the dancing queen, and she could have easily been back up for Beyonce's rendition of All the Single Ladies. All in the name of fun and fellowship. That was our Jamie. Jamie was a beautiful and bright girl who graduated from Rose High School, top 10 in her class of nearly 400. Jamie went on to graduate from UNC Chapel Hill in 3.5 years and won the Outstanding Senior Award in the School of Public Health. I will never forget the day that we moved Jamie into Granville Towers in Chapel Hill. Ron and I drove separately that day so that we could load each car with all of her stuff. The ride home back to Greenville was bittersweet. Then, when we got home and climbed into bed, we found a card from Jamie tucked under our pillows. She had a beautiful way with her words and never fell short on telling us how much she loved us and just how much she appreciated everything that we had done for her. This card was no different. While at Chapel Hill, she was very active as a Tri Sigma sorority sister. Her bonds and closeness with all of her sisters have helped us heal since her death, and we remain in contact with many of her sorority sisters even today. Jamie was also very health conscious. She rarely would take a day off from either running or working out at the gym. She ran in countless 5Ks, several half marathons, and a marathon. When she lived on Anna Maria Island, Florida, the last 6 months of her life, she loved to run on the beach and watch the sunsets at the end of the workday. Jamie also loved sports, especially her Tar Heels and Carolina Panthers. After Jamie's death, a friend of hers wrote to tell us about the first time that he had met Jamie. It would be at their condo gym. As he is working out, he sees Jamie walk into the gym. The TV is not on at this point, but as Jamie is getting ready to run on the treadmill, she looks at him and asks if he minds if she turns it on. He replies, "Yes, sure," but he's really thinking, "Oh great, she's going to turn it on The Bachelor." But lo and behold, Jamie flips the channel to ESPN and turns and smiles and says, "I am in 2 fantasy football leagues, so I need to study up on who to play on Sunday." He knew he had found the perfect gym partner. After graduation, Jamie began her career in the medical field and worked some in pharmaceutical sales. She made the switch, however, to Coca-Cola Consolidated with BYB Brands in February of 2010. She wanted to find a company that embraced her values and gave her opportunities to grow both personally and professionally. Their company purpose is to honor God in all they do, to serve others, to pursue excellence, and to grow profitably. Jamie quickly became a rising star there. When Jamie was taken from us, she had just been promoted and was planning to move from Anna Maria Island to Dallas, Texas to assume her new role. Jamie loved her BYB family. In return, they loved her. I'd say it was a match made in heaven. Jamie was such a thoughtful, caring person. She spent countless hours volunteering over the years for the Charlotte Chamber of Commerce. She raised in excess of $270,000 in 7 years. But more important than the money that she helped to raise for them, she made lasting friendships with so many people. Some of the words that they used to describe Jamie were precious, brilliant, sweet, wonderful, glowed from the inside, fun-loving, spirited, someone that everyone wanted to be around, dynamic, inspiring, considerate, and that she had a beautiful smile. They loved our Jamie, and even today, many of her chamber friends have become our dear friends. Jamie also had many friends all across the country. It was important for her to make sure to stay in touch with everyone, hence Jamie's love for travel. It was hard for us to keep up with her at times with all the places that she had been to visit. Weddings, showers, birthdays, bachelorette parties, you name it, Jamie was there. It never made any difference to Jamie how busy she was. She always had time to talk with you or to get together when she was coming your way. Ron and I also loved that any time her work would bring her to Charlotte for sales meeting, she would stay with us the weekend before and the weekend after the sales meetings. Jamie was also very, very thrifty. If she was going to meet you for lunch or dinner, you could count on her to have a 2-for-1 coupon with her. She was even greater at getting the best airfares around. She would manage her travels incredibly well. So with that, she became our go-to person to book our travel. She loved finding a deal. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you how much Jamie loved her family. Jamie seldom ever missed family get-togethers or vacations. She believed in family first. It was not unusual for her to spend weekends traveling across the country to watch her cousin Mallory play AAU basketball or her cousin Brad play college football. Jamie was an only child, and she was really close to her cousin Amy, who is also an only child. They were really more like sisters. Jamie was Amy's son's godmother. In March of 2012, knowing the importance of family, Jamie and Amy both planned a weekend to visit their grandparents in Illinois. It was their grandmother's 85th birthday. As it turns out, this would be the last time that Jamie's grandparents would ever see her. The last time that I would see Jamie was at our 2012 annual Girls Weekend in Chicago. We all came in on Thursday, August 9th, and left on Sunday, August 12th. We had a great time. We took in a Cubs game, went out to dinner, did some shopping, took long walks, and just sat in the room and laughed and talked. Those memories will have to last us a lifetime. When we departed that Sunday, I took the train from downtown back to O'Hare. Jamie had a later flight to Dallas that day to look for an apartment and stayed at the hotel longer. When we said our goodbye, it was at the corner of Monroe and State Street, just outside the Palmer House Hotel where we stayed. I will never forget, I hugged Jamie, gave her a kiss, and I told her that I loved her and I would see her soon. I had offered to help her pack and move from Anna Maria Island to Dallas in September. I walked about 20 feet towards the train station, and for some reason I turned to look back at her. She too had turned around to look at me. I walked back to Jamie and gave her one last hug and kiss and told her that I loved her. She responded, "I love you more, Mom." She was a delightful girl and a daughter and my best friend. She was my biggest cheerleader, and I could count on her for anything and everything. She had a smile that would melt your heart. We couldn't be more excited for Jamie, a promotion, a new environment, and a chance to start anew. So why do I say start anew? She had been in an abusive relationship for several years and found the courage to leave in June of 2012 to get out of that relationship. One of the most difficult things for us to understand and articulate with others when we tell Jamie's story is that she had found the courage to get out of the relationship. She had broken up with him several times and would get back together within days of the breakup. But this time was different. She had been out of the relationship for over 3 months. She was telling her friends and family that it was over. She said it with conviction. Jamie had clearly moved on, but what we didn't realize is her ex-boyfriend had not. Jamie would never want to hurt anyone, including the person who would kill her. And the message that is so important is that women are at the greatest danger after they leave an abusive relationship. 70% of the women killed from an act of domestic violence are killed either when they're leaving or after they leave the relationship. So does the perpetrator threaten to kill or harm himself? Do they threaten to harm the person he's abusing, or does he threaten to kill family members? Or does he threaten to harm the victim if she's telling anyone of his threats? Is that why so many break up and then go back to them because they fear for their lives? Is it easier to go back than leave and risk losing your life? In our case, those remain unanswered questions. Jamie had it all: an outgoing personality, a warm, beautiful smile, a brilliant mind, beauty, wit, charm, a great job with supportive coworkers and bosses who mentored her, hundreds of friends, love of family, and closeness to God. She had a tremendous courage for which she paid the greatest sacrifice. Ron, will you tell him more?
I've got an incredible wife. She can stand and stay strong in the face of adversity, and she did that for many years while Jamie was in that abusive relationship. It's great to be back home among so many friends. It's great to look out over this great audience and see so many friends and colleagues and partners from our days here in Greenville. And you all look so great. Jan and I want to thank Sarah and Laura and Donna and the board and staff of the Center for Family Violence Prevention for bringing us together today. Special thanks also to my dear friend and former colleague, Ann Wall, the city manager of Greenville. Let me tell you, you've got a great leader in Ann, and I can vouch for that. I think it's so evident from Jan's remarks just how blessed we were to have Jamie in our lives for 31 glorious years. Jamie's love, her compassion, her strength, and her courage were so incredible every day of our lives together. For me, I miss that big, wide smile that radiated from her wherever she went. I miss those frequent hugs, followed by that whisper, "I love you more, Dad." I miss those Sunday morning phone calls from Jamie where she would say, "Dad, I've made all but a few of my fantasy football picks, and I need your advice on the last 2 or 3. Can you help me out?" What I would give to have these and a million other moments back again. They will just have to exist as powerful memories, and they clearly are. What is difficult to comprehend then is how could something this terrible and tragic happen to someone so beautiful, so loving, so compassionate, and intelligent as our daughter. You soon come to the realization that it can happen to anyone, anywhere, anyhow, no matter the age, race, gender, socioeconomic status, or situation in life. Sometimes the signs of domestic violence are easy to spot, such as the bruises that are inflicted of a physical nature, but sometimes the signs are so subtle and hidden that only a few people can ever notice them. The latter is what our daughter faced with her ex-boyfriend for several excruciating years. It's also known and said that the longer one stays in an abusive relationship, the tougher it is to get out. And then to get out, it takes tremendous courage and the strongest will imaginable. So what are some of the tactics of abusers who emotionally abuse their victims? How do they apply those tactics? And the answer normally is a little bit at a time until they have you under their control. In front of you today is a warning signs card. Pick that up, look at it as I talk to you about some of those warning signs. The abusers treat you unbelievably well in the first days and months of a relationship to hook you in. They prey on your compassion to make you feel sorry for them, the woe is me factor. They try to control you by constantly emailing, texting, or calling you, even when they know where you are or who you are with. They try to separate you from your family whenever possible, or try to create chaos when family visits are about to happen. They find the smallest things wrong and criticize you for doing them. They go through your belongings, your diary, and your wardrobe looking for evidence of cheating. They secretly access your email and cell phone records to see who you have interacted with. They find flimsy reasons to break up because they know when they break up, it gives them another chance to crawl back, apologize, and tighten the grip on their victim. They often treat you very well in order to mask the numerous times that they mistreat you. They keep the calendar booked in advance so that the relationship can never easily be ended. And they can ultimately inflict physical harm, even death, if you prematurely or permanently end the relationship. So those warning signs don't come from a textbook. They come from experience. They come from our experience in observing what he did to our daughter. His antics were clever. They were subtle. They were masked. They were controlling, abusive, evil, maniacal, and meant to inflict fear, then compassion, more fear, then more compassion into her heart, into her mind, and her soul. We dealt with them in the best way we knew how, given that early on we knew his ways were not right, rarely visible to others because they were so subtly given, and were making our daughter react in ways that were not natural to who she was. So how did we try to deal with what was confronting Jamie and what was confronting us as her parents. Jan, who did not like what she saw from the beginning, did research on the types of behaviors we were witnessing. The research led her, and ultimately me, to conclude that this was domestic violence of an insidious nature, one where he knew how to control her without the use of physical force, but with threats, with blame, with anger, with emotional and psychological abuse, then apologize, make up, and promise never to do it again. We talked to Jamie, who advised her what we saw, why we were concerned, that we loved her, and that we would always be there for her. We sought outside counseling for us and for Jamie. At the time of their breakups, an early breakup, I asked if he owned a gun. And Jamie said, "No, Dad, he doesn't have a gun, and why would you ask me? Besides that, he would never physically harm me. I would leave him in a heartbeat if he physically harmed me." He knew that. Emotional and psychological abuse is what he continued to deliver. Jamie's extended family and friends began to see the subtle signs, and they gave Jamie their perspectives as well. His abuse was calculated, sinister, disguised, and powerful, especially as it related to the woe is me, which preyed upon Jamie's compassion. It's complex, it's complicated, it's hard to explain the emotional wretchedness, but saying, why didn't she just leave? Or why don't those victims just leave? Completely underestimates the power of control and threats that an abuser lashes against their victim. However, after several years of advice, of counsel, of friends, of family, of very much mental, emotional, and psychological abuse, Jamie summoned up tremendous courage, and she broke free from her abuser. But as Jan said, the ex-boyfriend had not moved on as Jamie had. Unknown to Jamie and us, his jealous rage burned within. If he couldn't have her, then nobody would. 3.5 months after they broke up, he drove 18 hours from his apartment in Kansas City. He retrieved his gun from his parents' house in Orlando. He drove to Tampa, and he waited 2 days for her to return to the Tampa airport from a trip to England. We don't know how, but he convinced her to let him take her to the hotel she would be staying that night. Jamie did not know he had a gun in his possession. As soon as he got in the car, an argument ensued. He pulled out the gun. He shot Jamie in the hand that she had raised to protect herself. She jumped from the car. He shot her again, and this one hit her in the heart. She died instantly on the streets of Tampa, 1 block from her hotel. He then drove down the street, turned around in the middle of the road, and shot and killed himself in the car. We did not know any of this had happened until Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department detectives showed up at our door in Charlotte at midnight on Labor Day 2012 to give us this tragic news. The police in Tampa had produced this account from eyewitness testimonies at the scene. Our beautiful daughter was gone. How could this have happened? How could we live without her? Why couldn't we have taken those bullets instead of her? Hours and days and weeks and months of shock and grief followed. Grief and pain still today, just more disguised and hidden and not as raw. But a few things stick with us and stuck with us. At Jamie's funeral, our pastor said, this was not God's plan. This was her abuser's plan. God's plan was for Jamie to live. Now God's plan is that Jamie's spirit and memory will live so that others will live also. And another, one of Jamie's last emails to her ex-boyfriend that we discovered after her death, it read, "I'm upset that you keep writing me. God has a different plan for me now. I must move on." We knew then that Jamie's death could not and would not be the last chapter of her story. We knew that we had to use her goodness to fight for other victims and also prevent domestic violence before it ever begins. And that's why we created the Jamie Kimble Scholarship for Courage at Chapel Hill to grant PhD and master's level scholarships to students studying violence against women. And I'm happy to report we just granted our 6th scholarship this fall. And our first recipient 6 years ago was Kara Person, who just happens to be Bernita Demry's niece. And we're so proud of Kara. And in 2013, we created the Jamie Kimble Foundation for Courage to fund initiatives in the prevention, awareness, education, and research of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. We have launched and funded nearly 20 initiatives in the last 4 years. One of those is working directly with youth and young adults in middle schools, high schools, and college campuses. In Charlotte, we've been able to start domestic violence clubs in 5 high schools, with one high school, Charlotte Country Day, now reaching close to 300 club members in their club. We are so very pleased to announce to you today a new partnership with J.H. Rose High School, Jamie's alma mater. We have brought J.H. Rose, the Center for Family Violence Prevention, and our foundation together to begin a robust program at Rose High to teach the importance of healthy relationships through curriculum, to raise awareness through symposiums, seminars, growth in club membership, and scheduling various activities in the school and in this community. And I want to thank Principal Monica Jacobson and student leader Rebecca Shemanan for their work in making this happen. You are indeed making a difference in this community. Thank you. The Jamie Kimble Foundation for Courage commits to being a permanent partner to support and save our youth. It is our hope that this same program will spread to all high schools in Pitt, Martin, and Washington counties, the footprint served by the Center for Family Violence Prevention. Thank you, Rose High and the Center, for going strong down the path of prevention, education, awareness, and research to stop domestic violence before it ever begins. And today, all of you, please support the work of the Center for Family Violence Prevention so they can continue the great work they're doing in this community. Our daughter Jamie was not just the light of our lives. She was a beacon in this world. She was loving, she was caring, she was generous, she was compassionate, she was funny, she was God-fearing, and yes, she had tremendous courage. She lived just 31 short, great years on this earth, but her legacy lives on to save as many others as possible. So in closing, Jan and I are proud. We are very proud to have been a part of this Greenville community for 17 fantastic years. And Jan and I are also very proud and pleased to now have spent 18 great years in Charlotte. And Charlotte is the place where Jamie rests now. But nothing can compare to that of which we are the proudest. We are the parents of Jamie Christine Kimble, the kindest, the most generous, the most loving, and most courageous person we have ever known. Shine on, sweet Jamie, shine on. God bless you all, and thank you for being here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Wall, and I'm pleased to be here today at this first annual Domestic Violence Impact Luncheon. And I'm pleased to be here with my dear friends Ron and Jan Kimble. I'm joined on stage by Mac McCarley. Mac and I have three very important connections. First, we both worked for the City of Greenville. I now serve as city manager, and Mac served as city attorney for 14 years. Second, we both worked for the City of Charlotte. Mac and I as city attorney, and I as assistant city manager, where I worked closely with Ron Kimble. And finally, Mac and I, we are committed to the cause of awareness, education, prevention of domestic violence, and helping its victims, a cause that has been championed by our dear friends, Ron and Jan. Mac?
Ron and Jan Kimble have just shared a very personal and painful story with you. They are not the first family, nor will they be the last to suffer this tragedy. Jamie was not the first victim, nor will she be the last. This problem continues today, and it continues in this community. As I look out, I see that some of you are either holding back tears or trying to inconspicuously wipe them away. Let me just say that it's okay to shed a tear for this issue and for that cause and for their story. It is okay to have compassion for the victims of domestic violence. The dictionary defines compassion as a feeling of deep sympathy for the misfortune of another, accompanied by a strong desire to help. And that's what we're here for today, to help. As you've listened to the program, I hope you've been thinking about what you can do. As you know, the Center for Family Violence Prevention depends on contributions from friends like you and me. So the question is, what will you give? What is it worth to you to help women and children in crisis? What is it worth to you to literally help save lives? You know, we're tempted to say that an opportunity like that is priceless, but priceless is its value, not its cost. The cost of running a program like this is very real, and we depend on your assistance to do that. Without you, without your financial support, we couldn't deliver the miracles we deliver. You help support the facility, the staff, the counseling, the transportation, the meals, the child care. So if we come up short, which of those do you think we should cut? Which of those should we do without? And I think the answer is obvious. To be a successful program and meet the mission of the agency, we can't cut any of those. We need your help to do it. As you think about how much to give today, and let me be clear, I am asking you to give. You came to a fundraising luncheon. What did you think? I am asking you to give. I want you to ask yourself this question. How many lives would I like to impact today? What I'm asking you is of what you have. What are you willing to share with the victims of domestic violence? We're counting on you for help. Victims in this 3-county area are counting on you to help. You can have a huge impact on the lives of some people with what you do here today. In fact, with what you do here right now. Please give generously to this agency and the cause they support. And would you tell our friends how they can help?
I will. Thank you, Mac. At this time, what we'd like is for the table host to begin handing out the envelopes to each person seated at your table. And in each envelope, you will find a donor card. We would like for everyone to please fill in their names and contact information on that donor card so that we can appropriately thank you for supporting us today. There are 4 different ways that you can make a donation to support the Center for Family Violence Prevention. By cash, you can insert it in the envelope after you've completed your donor card. By check, which is made possible to the Center for Family Violence Prevention, put the check in the envelope along with that completed donor card. You may also pay by credit card by completing all the required information on the donor card and placing it in the envelope. If you're donating by credit card, you'll have the option of making a one-time donation or a recurring donation. And we do accept Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. Finally, you can use your mobile phone. You can text the word GIVE to 252-351-2465 and use the charity code of #C4 FVP. And that information is found on the back of your program. Oh, and on the screen. Mac just tells me it's on the screen as well. If your employer will match your contribution, we would ask that you check the appropriate place on your donor card and include the name of your employer. Please be assured that all donations will be appreciated. Please be assured that all donations will be appreciated and will help to support the center and its mission of awareness, education, domestic violence prevention, and service to its victims. When you've completed the donor card, place it back in the envelope along with any donations you choose to make and return the envelope to your table host. And then table host, we would ask that you gather those envelopes and you drop them at the registration table on your way out. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your concern over this issue. Thank you for your contributions. And congratulations. What you've just done will impact lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac and Ann, and thank you to each and every one of you who have chosen to support the Center for Family Violence Prevention and its mission. Jan and Ron, we cannot thank you enough for what you do and for being here with us to help support the work of the Center for Family Violence Prevention. Your strength and your grace after such a tremendous loss are amazing. I hope you can feel the love, the support, and appreciation that surrounds you. As we leave here today, individually and collectively, we must acknowledge that abuse and violence exist. We must try to teach our children and others about respect, about appropriate behaviors, and about healthy relationships. We must learn the signs that someone is being abused, and we must act to support and help the victims. If you suspect that someone you know is in an abusive relationship, please speak up. There are people and resources available to help. If you are interested in learning more about the Center for Family Violence Prevention or volunteering to support its mission, please contact us. If you are a victim or a survivor, we hope that you feel the strength and support here today. Please do not be afraid to tell your stories. In closing, thank you again to all of our sponsors and to all of you who came to support us today. We sincerely appreciate you, and we assure you that the Center for Family Violence Prevention will continue to fight hard to prevent domestic violence, but also to serve the victims. It's what the center has been doing since it began in 1981 and what we will continue to do every day for as long as it's needed. Thank you all so very much. Please enjoy the rest of your day and travel safely. I don't know if a hurricane has started yet, but it sure didn't keep anybody from coming, so thank you very much.